Californian sunshine. With the Earth's spin helping us, we left London at lunchtime, and at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we're touching down at Los Angeles Airport. We've beaten both climate and clock, and here we are heading for Hollywood, taking the Stars route home, the Pole Star route to the glamorous capital of the cinema world. This is the gateway to the extravagant center of color and fantasy that, since films were first made, has fed us the fabulous standards that have fashioned our dreams. So see this place. The names of the streets are household words translated into magic. The sea itself has been built out of the rich epics that all of us know. You'll find streets here where the sidewalks are paved with glittering stars, because this crazy crucible of a town is what the sign says. You recognize this famous theater where the stars of all times have made imprints that recall all the most stupendous of first nights. Warner Brothers are filming The Great Race. They build up a storm on stage 7, the most gigantic film stage in the world. This is the story of a hilarious veteran car race across the world, and Pathé Pictorial takes you behind the Hollywood scenes to see a spectacular sequence of the great race as it's shot. The cars and stars are crossing from Alaska to Siberia on an ice floe with the help of the wave-making machines. So now you can rest assured that poor Tony Curtis, Natalie Wood, Jack Lemmon and the others were never really in desperate straits.
Fabulous MGM studios were at home to King Baudouin. Visiting America, the Belgian monarch dropped in on the kingdom of the movies. Top executives introduced him to Eva Marie Saint, one of the stars of North by Northwest. It was apparent that Hollywood was much to the liking of this usually very serious-looking king. Charlton Heston and Gary Cooper let His Majesty into some of the backstage secrets. They're filming The Wreck of the Mary Deare. Away from the critical atmosphere of Brussels, Baudouin was more relaxed than he has been for some time. On stage 26, Eleanor Parker and Robert Mitchum were presented. The next stars met were Gina Lollobrigida and Frank Sinatra, engaged in making Never So Few. For both the stars and the royal visitor, this was a day to remember. High spot of the occasion was the studio lunch, at which King Baudouin sat between Debbie Reynolds and Glenn Ford, both starring in It Started With a Kiss, and it was evident that the king had most congenial company. For Baudouin and Debbie, it was an enjoyable departure from the daily routine.
Good evening. This week I've been down to Shepperton Studios to interview my Zetling on the set. But before we go over there, I've just received news from Jock McGregor, who's out in Trinidad with Warwick Film Productions unit Fire Down Below. So perhaps first we ought to see the film report that Jock sent back. Jock McGregor flew out to the West Indies to make this film report. Here he's walking through Tobago's Golden Grove plantation. Warwick Films, says Jock, are in Tobago shooting a CinemaScope colour film, Fire Down Below. It's an exciting story of two men and a girl. The men, Robert Mitchum and Jack Lemmon. The girl, lovely Rita Hayworth. Big stars for a big film. Here's Rita arriving for work, comfortably dressed for the tropics. This is Jack Lemmon's first British film. For the shots at sea, they fixed up all sorts of contraptions to keep the camera steady. Also in the cast is Edric Connor. The sound recording team have made their tests. The cry is, OK for sound, stand by for a take. Now the cameras are turning as Bob Mitchum swings the boat past for this scene. He's at the wheel, and Edric Connor is forward with a rope and bucket. On the stern are actors Joan Miller and Jack Lemmon. Bob spent so much time on this old tub that he wants to buy it. He likes it so much. But it's not for sale. It certainly looks romantic. Back on shore, the unit set up to shoot this scene with Jack Lemmon and Rita Hayworth. Swimming in the warm blue waters of the Caribbean while working seems to me a very nice way of earning a living. This film version of Max Cato's bestseller promises to be among the most ambitious romantic dramas ever attempted by this company. I found that every day the lunch break was a glorious picnic and a great opportunity to chat with the stars. Even top directors have to eat. Rita wanders off to explore the shallows. Here's executive producer Cubby Broccoli. How fascinating the shallows are in these parts. There's so much to see. After lunch, the setup is changed, this time in a disused sugar mill. From what I've seen, this dramatic scene of the meeting between Robert Mitchum and Rita Hayworth at a secret rendezvous will be one of the highlights of Fire Down Below. I hope you will enjoy seeing the finished production as I enjoyed being here to watch them make it. And that's all from Jock McGregor with the Fire Down Below unit in Tobago. Thanks a lot, Jock. And now back to England. I'm speaking to you from Shepperton Studios. I'm on the set of 7 Waves Away, a new film being made down here for Copa Productions, and the film features Tyrone Power and Mai Zetling. We're just in the middle of a tea break, and I've just managed to get Mai Zetling from the set, and let's meet her, see what she's got to say about the film and her part. Mai. Well, I must say you look most unusual for a star, in very wet pyjamas, I see, and a bath gown. Yes. Very wet hair. Tell me something about the story of 7 Waves Away.
Well, now, I can only tell you very, very briefly.
Yes.
I should try to. It's 26 people shipwrecked in the middle of the ocean in a little lifeboat, which is really only made to hold about 8 to 10 people. 10 people are hanging on to the boat and 16 people in the boat. Now the captain has the choice. We know that we have no earthly chance of surviving, all of us. And the captain has to make the choice who is staying in the boat and who is going to go over. And that is very briefly. And then we'll see what will happen.
Tell me something about your part, Maya.
I play the part of a nurse, and I'm very happy about it. I think it's a very nice picture to be in. I think it's most exciting, and certainly it's most thrilling to work with Power. Tyrone Power is a very nice person to work with, the very nicest person I have worked with, I should say.
Who are the other people working with us? Lloyd Nolan, I know.
Yes, and a wonderful cast. We're very, very lucky. We have Moira Lister, we have Stephen Boyd, Lloyd Nolan, and many others. Wonderful people, I think so.
And what happens after this film? What are you going to do next?
I shall be doing a play, I hope, in the West End. And before that, if I have time, I shall go over to Sweden to make a picture there in the meantime.
But I see you're wanting back on the set. All the noise is starting up again, so I must let you go.
Yes,
you'll
I
just
shall
say
go
goodbye.
and get wet again.
I'll take you back there.
Goodbye.
The arc lights at Shepperton are turning on Mediterranean sunshine for the British Lion comedy, The Baby and the Battleship. This isn't a war film, but it shows how British sailors deal with an emergency. A very unusual emergency. The wind machine whips up a mild sea breeze. Michael Hordern, Richard Attenborough, John Mills and other members of the cast rehearse a scene for director J. Lewis. Before they started this work in the studio, the stars and crew visited Malta and Naples to make a good deal of the film against authentic backgrounds. They also did some filming at sea aboard HMS Birmingham, which was loaned by the Admiralty for the fleet exercises that figure prominently in the film. Now at Shepperton, they're hard at work on the more detailed shots. Here's a set representing a street in Naples. Studio craftsmen are just putting the finishing touches to it. The sailors have an eventful shore leave in Naples, during which one of them is required to mind a baby. Producer Anthony Darnborough talks to John Mills, the chap who's left holding the baby. He gets pretty desperate when nobody returns to claim it, and he has to take it back with him to the battleship, which sets off immediately on a NATO exercise. The problem that develops is not only how to look after a baby on a battleship, but how to conceal its presence from a VIP who's a guest aboard and who's inclined to pay unexpected visits to all parts of the ship. And here's another kind of baby. The Italian-born actress Lisa Gastoni. Just checking one of her lines with a continuity girl. Lisa provides the glamour in the story, something she's obviously well equipped to do. At Elstree Studios, the stars that these chairs belong to are involved in the kind of predicaments you'd expect to find in a film called My Wife's Family. Ronald Shiner says that his nose is one of his greatest comedy assets, and he's insured it for £10,000. Makeup takes the shine off Shiner. And director Gilbert Gunn has a word with Greta Gint about this vital scene that takes place in a pub. The lighting is checked by Gilbert Taylor, the director of photography. The camera's loaded with film. Continuity girl, Pam Gaylor, keeps a watch on the script. And everyone's ready to shoot and reshoot until the scene is just the way the director wants it. It's in this pub that Ronald Shiner introduces Greta Gint to Ted Ray. But no introduction's necessary. It turns out that she used to be Ted's girlfriend before he was married. And her reappearance at this time couldn't be more inopportune because Ted has just popped into the bar to fortify himself against the arrival of his mother-in-law, who's due in on the next train. The mother-in-law's a tyrant at the best of times, but if she catches him in the company of a glamorous blonde like Greta Gint, Ted's life won't be worth living. My Wife's Family is a fourth production, and everyone on the set appears to be enjoying its comedy complications. Also at Elstree, the makeup department is providing war paint for the savage tribesmen who menace the jungle hero Tarzan. When the job's completed, the Tarzan set takes on a primitive jungle atmosphere even before the cameras start turning. Although there is an occasional touch of civilization. The star of this solar production, Tarzan and the Lost Safari, is Gordon Scott, the 11th actor to play Tarzan. The first Tarzan film was made in 1918, and the series is still as popular as ever. This is the first one in color, and part of it was made on location in Kenya. Gordon Scott works out a fight routine with a stuntman. Scott has no need for a double when it comes to this kind of rough stuff. He used to be a military policeman. He's had plenty of experience in the arts of wrestling and judo, and now he has plenty of opportunity to apply both to any villains foolhardy enough to pick an argument with Tarzan. Tarzan and the Lost Safari is being directed by Bruce Humberstone, and at Elstree nowadays, the jungle is really jumping.
Yes, that's it. Elstree Studios. And it was open house for me for one whole day. The first place I wanted to see was the wardrobe department. I've always wanted to look at those fabulous gowns worn by the stars. So Mrs. Jackson let me see just how that last touch of glamour is applied. There she is with Shane Cordell, who is putting on one of the gowns specially made for the screen. And here is David Niven having a few words about the script of Silken Affair. They put me in a chair with a full view of everything that was going on. There was a break in the shooting, and David Niven and Roy Colino, the director, came over to say hello. I had so many questions to ask that I didn't know where to begin. First of all, I asked about the film, and Mr. Niven put me, so to speak, well in the picture. Oh yes, the hat. He was wearing it at such a jaunty angle in the scene they were doing, and I admired it. So David Niven thought I'd like to try it myself. Then he was called away, The lights and the cameras were all set, and my guide explained all about the scene they were going to take. Very gay it seemed, and David Niven went through it without a hitch. It doesn't always happen like that, it seems. Then we thought they'd be ready for us again in the makeup department, so over we went. That's the chief makeup man, Bob Clark, making me feel at home. It was fascinating, all those secrets being trotted out, and Miss Cordell being given the full treatment. I got as close as I could so as not to miss a thing. Then it was the turn of the hairdresser, Scotty, to take over. Every wave had to be in place, not a wisp allowed to straggle. But the end product was worth all the trouble. At least I certainly thought so. Though I doubt if my husband would appreciate waiting a couple of hours while I got myself ready for an evening out. There's Gilbert Taylor, the lighting cameraman, with all the technicians. And what could be better for a fade-out? A happy ending, with me taking a very fond farewell of the leading man, David Niven.
On the old maps, they call this Wessex. Today, it's Dorset. But to a lot of people, it will always be Hardy country. Thomas Hardy's Green Hill was a fiction, but today it's alive. For as Hardy wrote, the busiest, merriest, noisiest day of the whole statute number was the day of the sheep fair. So it was in Hardy's day, and so it is now. And the sheep fair was also something of a circus. So the circus comes not to town, but to Hardy country, and with it, make-up for the artists. And that includes a brown mare to be called Black Bess. The roots of the circus are as vague as they're old, and there's certainly something antique about this particular show, though there's nothing vague about what is in fact a reconstruction for the cameras. Film director John Schlesinger has his own angle on how the Hardy atmosphere is to be authenticated. They're shooting the circus sequences for the screen version of Far From the Madding Crowd, the novel which first brought Hardy fame and reputation. It's being shot entirely on location in country that hasn't changed since scenes like these were a looked-forward-to part of Dorset rural life, a suitable and sometimes bizarre backdrop to the dramatic scenes that unfold under the big top. Julie Christie, who plays Bathsheba Everdeen, and Peter Finch, who is Boldwood, her neighbour and would-be lover, are right among the madding crowd today as they join the circus audience extras to see the show. Yet another slice of English history comes alive, the Royal Hippodrome performance of Turpin's Ride to York and the death of Black Bess, as portrayed by a heavily disguised Sergeant Troy, played by co-star Terence Stamp.
Tell no one you recognise me and you'll not lack your proper reward. But speak to those you shouldn't, and you won't live to tell the tale. Ha ha ha!